This week, we finally finish our M18 Tablesaw Workbench.
Then we get to meet Hailey from HonestWork Designs. But first, it's time for a make or break. Hey guys, welcome back to Make or Break, where we share our favorite maker videos of the week and then challenge ourselves to build a project of our own. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Rob, and this week we finally finish our new workbench inspired by the Milwaukee M18 Tablesaw. Here's how it went. Alright, so last week we designed the bench, we built the frame, and went to ridiculous lengths to get the adjustable feet that I wanted. This week we're going to wrap things up. Almost. First thing I did was screw in the lower crossbars that will support the bottom shelf and of course give me a little bit more stability. I pre-drilled pocket holes for these, so it was pretty quick. Next, I put on those awesome feet our buddy Jake made for us. Now the feet were actually spare parts from Grizzly, but Jake made these awesome plates with a nut welded in so I could easily adjust the feet. I needed to drill out a hole in the bottom of the leg to accommodate both the nut and the bolt on the foot, so I used two different size Forstner bits to get it done. After that, I simply screwed the plates onto the leg and threaded on the feet. Perfect. Then it was time to get the frame on the floor so I could build the top on the frame. Getting it down was, well, challenging. But I got it there. After that, I simply slid over two sheets of 3/4 inch MDF that would make up half of the top, or so I thought. I'll get to the thickness in a minute. First, I had to glue the two sheets together. I blew off any dust and applied a bunch of Titebond 3 to it. I could have used any Titebond really, but I accidentally grabbed the 3, so that's what I got. I then slid the other sheet over it, lined them up, and did my best to clamp it down. I do not have a good clamp collection yet, so I did the best I could with what I had, and I also drilled a few screws through the middle of it that would help hold it until it dried. 30 minutes later, it was time to start cutting the top. I started by giving myself a straight edge to follow. I used my Bora WTX clamp edge to guide my HART 6.5 inch circular saw. That worked great. Next, I started measuring out the top and planning my cuts. At this point, I was still figuring I would eventually glue two more sheets together and stack this up to 3 inches thick. So I kept cutting everything with an extra ½ inch, so when I glued all 4 stacks together, I could make a final cut through all of them, giving me perfect edges. But then, you see, I cut out all 4 layers of the smaller section that will be to the right of the saw and stacked them up. That's when I realized 3 inches is ridiculously huge. I wasn't even going to be able to cut through all of it with my HART saw. Not even a 7.25 inch saw would work. I would need a dang saw squatch. I called my buddy Jay to ask him about this, and he convinced me that a 1.5 inch thick top would be plenty. So that's what I stuck with. And that's what you've been watching me struggle to flip over, because it's 130 pounds, but I eventually got it done. So of course that made this my final top, so I had to cut the extra ½ inch off and get it to its final dimensions. This table's going to be 4x8 by the way, because bigger is awesomer, am I right? Next, I built the frame for the shelf that will hold the table saw. Now, unlike the stretchers, I didn't notch out the legs to support these. The reason why is because I need the ability to finally adjust the height of each leg, allowing me to get the table saw perfectly level and flush with the rest of the table. Then my mistakes started to rear their heads. First, I couldn't get the assembled shelf in place, without taking it apart again. Then, when I got it in place, I realized that somehow one of the middle legs had shifted, so the shelf didn't fit, so I had to move the leg. Yes, that meant taking the shelf apart again. Plus, I realized that if I put this shelf in, I'd never get the bottom shelf in. So I put on the brakes and cut out the bottom shelf first. The shelf would need a cutout for all 6 legs, which I made with my HART jigsaw. Worked like a charm. Except, I cut the shelf to width, but forgot to cut it to length, so it didn't fit. Take it all back out, cut it again. The second time, it fit perfectly. Now, back to the saw shelf. With the bottom shelf in place and the middle leg fixed, I was easily able to assemble it. I supported each corner with a clamp and dropped my MDF shelf in place for testing. This is the first time I was able to put the saw on it, and it was awesome. So excited to get this done. Next, I went through the frustrating process of getting the shelf and saw level and flush with the table. Now technically, I positioned the saw about 1/16 of an inch higher than the table, so none of the wood would catch on the edge when I was cutting. Fortunately, this was right about the time that Sarah came by to shoot our shows for the week, and her extra set of hands made this much easier. Once it was leveled, we screwed the shelf into all 4 legs. Next, I got to use the saw and table for the first time to rip a 1x4 in half so we could use it for our edging. The MDF makes a great top, except for the edges that are easily dented and tore up. So this 1x2 edge should not only protect it, but I think it also looks great too. I measured each piece one at a time and cut a 45-degree angle on our miter saw. We glued each strip onto the MDF and used a brad nailer to hold it in place while it dried. After that, it was time to get the saw in place and try it out. Now, changing the tabletop thickness meant I need to notch out the 2x4 stretcher that is now in the way of the fence railing, but that should be easy. And, well, I realized at the very end, the fence is at 0 right up against the blade. The rails actually stick out 3.5 inches to the left of the saw. No clue how I missed that, but I'll be able to fix it by cutting a 3.5-inch notch on the left side of the saw to accommodate it. I'll be sure to change that in my plans before I make them available. Other than that, this project is done, although it does seem to be missing some color.
I thought we were gonna paint it.
We are. So actually we're going to paint it right after we're done shooting this episode. If you want to see it painted, we'll be posting photos and videos on our Instagram account at Belts and Boxes.
Are you happy with how it turned out?
I am. I kind of wish I had a little more time to kind of address a couple problems I ran into. I'm going to tackle those next week, so hopefully I can get some free plans out there for anyone who wants them.
Okay, it's time to meet a maker. This week we meet Hailey from HonestWork Designs.
Hey Rob and Sarah, I'm Hailey Krause. I'm the maker for the YouTube channel HonestWork Designs, and I've been interested in making pretty much ever since I can remember, but I hadn't really started to build out my shop and by proxy my channel until a few years ago, and I just kind of needed a change of pace, a new creative outlet. I've been lucky enough to be able to make in all the places I've lived thus far, like the Congo and now the Rocky Mountains, and that's basically my YouTube channel, is DIY woodworking with a couple of woodworking adjacent related adventures sprinkled throughout. Well, I think because I had to leave my shop behind when we had to leave Congo in a hurry at the beginning of COVID, I think a better question would be, what's one of the first tools I'm gonna buy in the next couple weeks when I start to rebuild my shop? And that would have to be a porta-cable router. It is just such a versatile tool. You can do so much with it, and it's definitely gonna be in a fixture in whatever shop I build next. Woodworking wise, I'd have to say it's the mid-century inspired credenza/shelving unit I put together. It was just one of the first big furniture projects that I ever did, and definitely one of the first that really felt like my style or my design fully executed. But I think the project that I'm most proud of is the solar power project that we installed in an all-girls home in Congo. It was a difficult project. We had to apply for grants, and I had to steal some of my husband's brain power, but at the end of the day, it's just such an unquestionable resource for those girls, and I feel really grateful that we were able to leave it behind with them. I've been following Molly Molly Woodworking on Instagram for a little while now and really enjoying his content there, but I think he's new to the YouTube scene as well, and I think he's got a walnut/metal fabrication dining room table that he's working on as his next project post. Should be worth the watch. Right now, I am testing my skills as a tool mechanic, restoring 2 old jet machines my dad gave me. One's a JJ8 8-inch by 6-foot jointer, and the other is a 15-inch planer. They're both circa 1985, and I don't think that they've really been used since the early 90s. So once those are tidied up, they'll be the first major tools of my new wood shop. And I plan to document and post the entire restoration for both of them, as well as all the projects that I make with them thereafter. Thanks, you guys, and can I just say, I think it's super cool what you guys do to build up the maker community. The community is so special. It's been such a resource for me, and I really appreciate it.
Aw, thank you so much, Hailey. Guys, Hailey has such an amazing story. As she briefly touched on, she recently had to give away her entire workshop and leave it behind in the Congo.
It's true, and she's done a remarkable job of documenting the story on her channel, so be sure to head over, watch a bunch of her videos, subscribe, you'll be super glad you did.
Before we go, we love to share our favorite maker videos of the week, and just as a reminder, we hope you share yours in the comments. First of all, on my other show, Top 5 DIY, this week I covered my top 5 favorite tool organization videos, and then, without warning, Chris Salomone posted this one. Chris not only added more organization to his shop, but he also talks a little bit about how we all think about organization and has some tips how to make your shop make more sense.
Michael Alm, who's famous for his beautiful and creative work with plywood patterns, shared a CNC solution for even the smallest shop. Now, I realize most of us don't have a CNC machine, not just because of the space they use, but also because of the price, but let's pretend price isn't an option for a minute. Michael showed off the Shaper Origin, a handheld CNC machine that helps you make precision rounded cuts on just about any surface by visually identifying its location using those stickers, and then slightly adjusting your movements, making it nearly as accurate as a regular CNC. Really freaking cool.
Okay, but what if price is an option?
It's $2,500.
What?
It's $2,500, but I mean, come on, think of all the $2,500 projects you could do.
Yeah, right, okay. Well, if that price makes you need to sit down, might I suggest this project from Rogue Engineer? Jameson just shared a video and plans for making these awesome adjustable chaise loungers with the only 2x4s. Well, mostly. The feet are 4x4s, but those aren't that expensive. The best part, he sized them to fit these cushions from Target.
So you get to go to
I get to go to Target.
Okay, that makes sense now. All right, gang, that's all we've got. If you saw a maker video that should have been mentioned this week, do us a favor and link to it in the comments below.
If you link it, we'll watch it.
Yep, thanks to HART for sponsoring this episode and reminding us, of course, that we can build anything we can imagine if we do it with HART.
Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a thing.
All right, break's over.
Let's make something.